Welcome to our latest video, where we explore the feminist perspective on education. Feminist theories have long challenged traditional views, highlighting how educational systems can reinforce gender inequalities and limit opportunities for women and girls. In this video, we'll delve into key feminist critiques, discuss how gender roles are perpetuated in schools, and examine the ongoing fight for equality in education. Stay tuned as we uncover the ways in which education can both empower and constrain, and why a feminist lens is essential to understanding the true impact of our educational systems. Since the 1960s, feminists have been at the forefront of highlighting gender inequalities that persist within society, including within the education system. Despite significant progress over the decades, traditional definitions of masculinity and femininity remain deeply rooted, as pointed out by feminist scholar Colley. She argues that the education system plays a critical role in maintaining these gender inequalities rather than challenging them. According to Colley, schools often reinforce traditional gender roles, making it difficult to achieve true meritocracy. From the subjects encouraged to the treatment of students, these patterns continue to limit opportunities for many, particularly girls and young women. For feminists, addressing these ingrained inequalities is crucial in the fight for a more equitable and just education system. Feminists like Crompton and Lionette have identified several ways in which gender inequalities manifest within the education system and the wider labor market. One key concept they discuss is horizontal segregation, which refers to the concentration of men and women in different types of jobs. This segregation is influenced by gender normative theory, which reinforces social norms about what roles are deemed suitable for each gender, often steering men and women towards different career paths. They also highlight vertical segregation, where men predominantly occupy higher managerial positions, while women are more often found in subordinate roles. This unequal distribution of power is a clear reflection of the barriers women face in advancing their careers. Another crucial concept is the dual labor market theory. This theory explains how the labor market is divided into two segments: the primary labor market, characterized by high job security, benefits, and better working conditions, is typically dominated by men. In contrast, the secondary labor market, which offers poorer working conditions, lower wages, and less job security, often employs more women. These patterns demonstrate how education and social norms continue to influence the workforce, perpetuating gender inequalities. The World's Women 2015 UN report highlights persistent gender gaps within education systems worldwide, showing that these disparities are even more pronounced at higher levels of education. There remains a striking lack of women in advanced degree programs, research roles, and fields like science and engineering. Despite improvements, the path to higher education remains uneven for many women. When it comes to staffing in education, the report also reveals gender imbalances. Although women make up 60% of lower-level posts in secondary education, they hold only 23% of headteacher positions. This reflects a significant gap in leadership, where women are underrepresented at higher levels of educational administration. Further supporting these observations, Stanworth's study of A-level classes found that teachers often hold stereotypical views about the futures of their female students. Such attitudes can discourage girls from pursuing certain subjects or careers, reinforcing traditional gender roles and limiting their opportunities. These findings illustrate the ongoing need for efforts to break down gender barriers in education at all levels. Gender inequalities within the education system can often be seen in the form of a gendered curriculum. Research by Self and Zeely indicates that a higher proportion of girls tend to choose subjects within the social sciences and humanities, while boys are more likely to pursue science and technical subjects. These patterns suggest that traditional gender roles still influence educational choices, limiting opportunities and career paths for both genders. Legislative measures like the Equal Pay Act and the Sex Discrimination Act were introduced to address these disparities, aiming to promote fair treatment and equal opportunities in the workplace. However, despite these efforts, challenges persist. For instance, a 2007 report by the Equal Opportunity Commission in the UK found that even though girls consistently outperform boys at all levels of education, they do not necessarily secure better-paying jobs than their male counterparts. This highlights a disconnect between educational success and economic rewards, suggesting that structural inequalities continue to hinder true gender equality. Gender inequalities in education are further reinforced by persistent stereotypes and subcultures within schools. Warrington's analysis of reading schemes from the 1960s and 1970s shows how traditional gender roles were ingrained from a young age. Boys were depicted as adventurous, strong, and responsible for making decisions, while girls were often shown in caring roles, handling domestic matters, and following rather than leading. These early messages continue to shape expectations and behaviors, influencing the choices students make later in life. Pupil subcultures also play a significant role in perpetuating gender disparities. Willis's study on school subcultures found that they were predominantly patriarchal and masculine, with behaviors and attitudes that further marginalized girls. These subcultures created environments where girls experienced a lower degree of integration, making it difficult for them to participate equally in school activities and discussions. Gender inequality is also evident in vocational training, where women remain a minority. This is largely because vocational programs often focus on manual jobs, which are stereotypically seen as male roles. As a result, women are less likely to engage in such training, leading to further gender segregation in the labor market. Addressing these stereotypes and providing more inclusive educational environments are essential steps toward achieving true gender equality in education. Feminist perspectives on education, while valuable, have also faced several critiques. One common criticism is the overemphasis on gender differences. Critics argue that by focusing too much on disparities, feminist theories may inadvertently reinforce the idea of inherent differences between men and women, rather than promoting equality. Another point of critique is that significant progress has been made in reducing sexism within educational systems. Many traditional gender barriers have been challenged, and overt acts of discrimination are far less common today than in the past. Critics suggest that this progress should be acknowledged more within feminist discussions. Lastly, some argue that feminist perspectives often overlook the positive changes and advances that have been achieved. From increased female participation in higher education to a growing number of women in leadership roles, there have been numerous strides toward gender equality. Ignoring these achievements can present an incomplete picture of the current educational landscape, where ongoing efforts are continuing to make education more inclusive. Thank you for watching our video on the feminist perspective on education. If you found this content insightful, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to explore important topics and share more educational content. Stay tuned for more videos, and we look forward to seeing you next time.